Commission meeting for, excuse me, Monday, July 18th, 2022 is called to order. Everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay.
Item 2 is roll call.
Roll call. Mr. Frederick?
Here.
Mr. Glafferty?
Here.
Mr. McAnally?
Present.
Mr. Long?
Here.
Ms. Roscoe?
Here.
Ms. Jamison?
Here.
Mr. Crover?
Here.
I'm here. And then Chairman Freitag?
I'm here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 3 is approval of the agenda.
So move, Madam Chair. Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Gladfelty, supported by Mr. Frederick, to approve the agenda as submitted. No discussion. Mr. Gladfelty?
Yes.
Mr. Frederick?
Yes.
Mr. Krova?
Yes.
Ms. Jamison?
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Mr. McAnally?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Boboade?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. The agenda is approved. Next, we have approval of the minutes of the regular Planning Commission meeting held on June 20th, 2022.
So moved.
Support.
I have a motion from Ms. Jamison, supported by Mr. Boboade, to approve the minutes as presented. Any discussion? No? Ms. Jamison?
Yes.
Mr. Boboade?
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Mr. McAnally?
Yes.
Mr. Krova?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Gladfelty?
Yes.
Mr. Frederick?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. The minutes are approved. Next, we have comments from the public on non-agenda items. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak about anything that's not on our agenda tonight? Just raise your hand, not everybody at once. I'm sorry. Okay, moving on. Public hearings. Number 6, we have no public hearings. Number 7, old business. We have no old business. Number 8, new business. And we have SPR 2022-005, Romulus Corporate Park, Building A and B, requesting site plan approval for the construction of Building A, which is 100,000 square feet, and Building B, which is 174,000 square feet, for warehouse distribution. And the petitioners are here.
Good evening. My name is Mike Robinson. I'm with Opus Development Company. I'm also here with from PEA Group.
PEA. I have a question for you before we go. In your letter that you sent, you have us listed as the City of Taylor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, your address is the Carroll Mays City of Taylor Planning Department. Yeah, that's it. We called and said, did you move? Anyhow, just, sorry, just wanted to have a little fun with that.
Sorry about that, typo. So I'll start off. I just want to give a little presentation
Sure.
about the project and who this is. So give you a little about Opus, development team, and then we'll go into how we got to where we are from the original architectural meeting where we received a lot of comments with Koji as the developer, and then how it transitioned to us. So, first of all, Opus Development Company, we are headquartered in Minneapolis, Minnesota. We have regional offices, mostly in the Midwest. You can see we have Phoenix and Denver as well. And I'm in the Chicago office. In the Chicago office, we handle southeastern Wisconsin, we handle northwest Indiana, and we handle Michigan. This is our second recent development in Michigan, where we have one currently underway in Oak Park right now. So this will be to, and we're looking for more. So, you might not be familiar with Opus Development Company, but hopefully we're here to stay with continuing development. In-house, Opus is, we have Opus Design Build in-house, so we have our contractor is Opus Design Build, Opus Development Company, which I'm a part of, and then we have Opus Architectural Engineering, all in-house. Our subcontractors will be all local subs. You'll know probably better than I do, but we've met a bunch of them with our previous development, and we're continuing that as we move forward. Office is run by Mike Youngerman. He's also a developer for 25 to 30 years, and I run the industrial development out of the Chicago office. I also have a partner, not on here, but he just started with us a little less than a year ago, and his name is Breton Ford, and you'll probably see him at some point as well in our development series. To give you a little idea of how we got here, we started talking with Kerjayan, I'd say in January. They were receptive to selling their last parcel. But they're also have already submitted or planning to submit and creating the plan for the architectural meeting. And we didn't want to disrupt that. We wanted to keep moving forward and not lose any time. So we had them continue to move forward, and we agreed that we wouldn't interfere with that because we liked the plan that they had. We did want to do some tweaking, which you'll see, but for the most part, we were very happy with what they initially laid out. So that was at the March architectural meeting. From that meeting, there was a lot of comments that were received, and then we went under contract. We made their due diligence, then we kind of introduced ourselves and closed on the land in June. And here we are now in July, where we've taken it over. So we've kind of taken the comments that we received in the architectural meeting and also transitioned some of our comments that we had as well. Our comments were very basic and basically made it more efficient, I think, for the users. We made a larger truck court. By doing that, we made the buildings a little bit shallower and a little bit longer, but still keeping the correct turning radiuses as needed in the parking for the cars and trucks. But it made for better optimization of truck maneuverability in the truck court. If both buildings were full, trucks were on both sides, we wanted to make sure that there were no problems between the two buildings and the tenants of the buildings. So that was the reasoning for the increased truck court. We also made the docks and just moved them around a little bit to make it more efficient for the building, make it more efficient for the users that will be in the building, and then the same as driving door. So those are the tweaks that Opus Development Company were making, but we also had the changes that were recommended to us by the architectural committee. And Lucas, you can highlight some of those changes from the board.
Sure, yeah, we received some comments from the planning consultant and consultant. From the original site plan we submitted, you can see over there on the screen. And we accommodated all those changes as possible in this new site plan that we've got. One of the changes that was recommended to us from the city was saving as many trees as we could along Vining Road. There's existing wood lots there. Originally, we proposed a landscape berm for the ordinance with the trees on top of it. But in talks with the city, we ended up being able to save about 25 of those trees while getting rid of the berm that we proposed in that place. So the berm along the east side of Vining Road in the board, and then saving the existing trees as much as possible along the east of Vining Road. Other than that, the changes were pretty minimal from the original submittal. What we have proposed now, is that the building B is a little skinnier and a little longer, and that provides us the additional width within the truck.
I think we just open up for comments.
Sure.
After reviewing the additional recommendation, we support the conditions that are on there. So maybe with additional questions from Opus or PEA.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I have a question.
Yeah, I was just going to see if either one of them had anything
sorry.
they wanted to add, but you know what? Should we do the questions first?
We could, unless, did you want to explain that traffic
Sure.
little section that we had talked about earlier? It's just a couple quick things that might
Okay.
clarify some
And
stuff.
then you'll have it, Mr. Barbato.
So our review comments, majority of them can be administratively approved or taken care of during engineering review. We did have 3 sections that I wanted to just highlight and potentially have some feedback from the applicant. I'm glad to hear that they've read through it and they didn't have any concerns with what we had suggested. I'm going to start it with the easiest one first and go backwards. The lighting, originally it had been discussed that some lighting would be added to the 8-foot wide walking path that was adjacent to the Ecorse River. This would mimic what it was approved for Smith Building 3, which is the easternmost parcel, where the lighting was going to extend up into the lot just south of the detention basin that is existing currently and being utilized. So that was one thing that we had recommended. It is not an ordinance requirement, however, due to the fact that the original conditional rezoning agreement was to create a campus-like development, it just giving some additional safety and security along that lighting, or along the pathway there. In regards to the architectural, there were a couple items that we wanted to point out. And most of these can be handled with notes, but again, just having the applicant acknowledge that these are necessary. There's a note about future knockout panels for additional truck doors, and that should be noted that any additional dock doors need to be approved prior to being installed. And then additionally, any above-ground building or roof-mounted mechanical equipment needs to be screened where practical. So we are just asking for additional notes in regards to that on the architectural plans. In regards to the traffic, the internal traffic, from the first submittal to the second submittal, the truck circulation and the employee circulation have been more defined with some internal signage. However, there's some discussion still as to how this A and B site is going to interact with Vistar and with the crossovers along Smith Road. So some more discussion as to whether or not there's going to be a cross-access agreement that allows employees to go all the way to the easternmost Vistar driveway to access a crossover to go eastbound on Smith. And just in general, the circulation with the trucks versus the employees. Well, like I said, there are signs now currently on the plans that state no trucks in the employee drive areas. So that was that one. Then additional signage at the exits signifying right turn only. There are current misuse of the crossover on Smith Road that is not attributed to this development at all, but just additional, it's an additional safeguard in order to make sure everyone is utilizing and going the right way along the roads. And then additional signage that directs truck traffic to the south along Vining and keeps truck traffic off of the segment of Smith that is not a truck route, which is all the way at the east end of the building road, or building 3. So those were the main items that we just wanted to point out and have potentially more discussion on.
And you have no tenants yet, right?
Correct. We'll be building these buildings speculatively.
Right. So we really don't know how much traffic is going to be generated until you know who the tenants are.
Correct. Although it is kind of limited with the number of docks.
Right.
So with that, and we can't go past the 34 docks, and we don't want to either. It's the light industrial buildings, and so
Right.
we feel that it's not going to, the traffic won't increase that much based on whoever's using it. It's because they're limited.
I think any changes like that could be handled administratively.
With the reoccupancy.
Yes.
As far as when they have a tenant.
Right.
You know,
The same
if-
way we did Ecorse Commons like that.
Exactly.
That we did spec buildings, and as part
Right.
of before, typically the timing is, as you're getting ready to do your build out, to kind of know who's going to be in there. So we have you file just a simple reoccupancy application with us, and it basically is just giving that use information. And if, as part of it are the anticipated trips, we shoot it over to these guys and they say, oh, it's fine, or, ooh, maybe we need to look at this a little closer, so.
And to the
But-
chair, in regards to the traffic impact study that was submitted, we do agree with the assumptions. They use the ITE to generate, just based on the general use of what could go in the building. So we do agree with the assumptions that they utilized.
But as the whole area gets built out, that could change significantly, correct? Or no?
Well, we have reviewed multiple traffic impact studies for this area.
Okay.
And we are making sure that each development is considering others that are occurring.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Gladfelter?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had a couple questions from the notes from the PEA letter. One of them was under stormwater management, item number 2, it says sanitary manhole removed. You don't normally see that with stormwater. Can you tell me what that's about?
It was about a crossing that was between storm sewer was crossing close to that sanitary manhole, so that we redesigned sanitation, the sanitary manhole was no longer there. Therefore, the issue is functional to be that sanitary manhole.
And you'll have sufficient coverage with that, I presume? Okay. The other question that caught my attention was, says, curb now proposed around buildings so bollards are no longer required.
Yes, so originally, the original site plan had paving all the way up to the building. Therefore, we would need bollards outside the doors for protection.
Right?
The new site plan, and we had about 5 feet of green belt outside the building edge, we'll have a curb up against it. So that'll be what protects anyone from possibly in the building.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Any questions or comments?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Mr. Long?
In regards to the sidewalk in front on Smith Road, I noticed in the notes that would be asphalt instead of concrete. What's over there now is concrete, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct? From what I saw, it's concrete in front of Vistar.
Yes, yeah, so I believe asphalt is allowed for the ordinance, that's the final process.
Is there a reason why it just can't be concrete and connect with the Vistar sidewalk?
It was purely requested,
Cost factor?
yeah. And that was allowed for the changes.
Is that, did you hear the question? Is she checking
Something
it
about
out?
the sidewalk, I didn't totally hear it.
Sidewalk.
Jessica's looking it up.
I guess they're suggesting or recommending asphalt, and there's already concrete there.
There's
At some
concrete in
point.
front of Vistar.
To the chair, could Mr. Godfrey, was that your
Mr. Long.
comment? Oh, okay. What page did you see that on?
It's on C4.1.
I can make a comment in regards to the pathway. Typically, when it is past a 5-foot walk width, we do see HMA, which is asphalt, as a pathway. Sometimes it's easier to maintain that because it is a more flexible pavement. And as you get wider, there might be more movement, and it's just easier if you have franchise utilities that come in and cut it out to come back and replace a smaller section. So typically, when it's an 8-foot path, we do see an HMA. I can't speak to why Vistar put an 8-foot sidewalk in, or a concrete sidewalk in. versus the 8-foot HMA path. But it is not required by the ordinance either way.
Okay, so asphalt is fine.
Asphalt is fine.
I don't think we have any asphalt sidewalks in the city.
The Huron Road pathway that we just put in is asphalt. Anything that's over 8 foot is typically, if it's a shared use path that's for both pedestrians and cyclists, it typically ends up being an asphalt pathway. Cyclists don't like the joints in a sidewalk as they are riding over it. So again, typically when we see it's an 8 foot and it's wide enough for multiple uses, we don't see it being placed in concrete.
With that said, I have a question just based on that.
Go right ahead.
So the transition from concrete to asphalt eventually will do this. Eventually it's going to. How do we protect that?
Well, the transition's occurring right at the drive approach. And typically, the drive approach for both of these are going to be concrete drive approaches, which we would run into that issue if we were designing an asphalt pathway as well, because of the type of loading that's coming in and out of that drive.
That's true.
Gotcha. But that's thicker concrete at the approach than it is at the sidewalk at Discharge.
It is. We can
Less
ask
likely to
them.
move.
There might be, it appears like there's 10 feet approximately of concrete that they'd be connecting to. We might ask that get replaced with an HMA, the asphalt pathway, so it's all the same from the western driveway, the western edge of the driveway all the way to Vining.
Okay, I just know what I've seen in the past, like in metro parks. The transition onto the concrete bridge to the asphalt path is always,
Well,
over time, turns it on.
A lot of times we use, like if you have a boardwalk that's a part of the non-motorized system, we will use a concrete pad at the boardwalk and then the asphalt path, because they are going to flux and move in different, have differences with the frost and the weather that we have here in Michigan. But if you have a good contractor, you can make it so the transition is not.
Because the sidewalks are city property? So city
Sidewalks.
liability
Sidewalks are city property.
and city liability. That's just my only concern.
I can't speak to the liability.
This is Scannell. So is some of the question here the consistency along that frontage? That this is a
Just the-
coordinated
the-
development and that the
Just the
material should be the
transition from
same?
asphalt to concrete, that it's maintained, or like 10 years from now, 12 years from now? It just doesn't turn into a,
So
gonna be
the
some
one in
issues.
front,
Yes.
so this
A lot of maintenance.
one that's in front of Scannell is already there. It's an 8-foot wide. It's what's in front of Vistar, because they constructed it all at once, correct?
I don't think Scannell's sidewalk got
It's not in?
installed.
Oh, it might not be. Okay. Oh, yeah, it's proposed. You're right, so it didn't go in. The
No,
berm's
the
in.
berm went in.
But it's 8 foot.
It is.
Is it concrete or is it asphalt?
Lucas, did you work on that one?
I believe the property across the street, north of the road, is an 8-foot asphalt path all along Smith as well.
It is. The North Point.
North Point is.
The Romulus Logistics is asphalt pathway along Smith, Vining, and Wick, an 8-foot wide. We will, in the process of observing the construction and reviewing the engineering plans, we'll make sure that the transition is appropriately constructed.
right, just for riders, bicycle safety. The pedestrian's less likely to have a problem than a bicyclist,
Sure.
especially dark.
Yep.
At night.
And again, going back to, most cyclists do not like riding on an 8-foot wide concrete sidewalk because of all of the joints that they continuously feel. So you've got multiple different users, and you have to find a happy medium.
I'm just looking at the long-term investment for the city. That asphalt's a lot of maintenance.
Yes, it is.
Put the concrete in and get it over with. To me, it's gonna look kind of cheap to go from concrete to asphalt.
You'll have asphalt on the other side of the road. The only piece that's probably going to be concrete is the smaller piece that's in front of Vistar right now.
I'd like everything to flow and look good, but I know the long-term maintenance of that asphalt There's maintenance in that.
Weeds and everything else.
It is going to be installed in the right-of-way, so it will be a city piece of infrastructure. I will say that there's nothing currently in the ordinance that states what material it should be when it's an 8-foot wide pathway. And in fact, I believe in the Vining Road ordinance, we might actually say that an asphalt pathway is preferred when it's at a certain width. So I'm just stating what's
Well,
currently in the
We're putting the
regulations.
city at responsibility for this. Maybe we need to put up a bond or something to maintain that, because it's gonna need to be maintained. It's gonna crack and heave. It's gonna be on maintenance. You gotta go reseal it. I'm not a fan of it. I put it down for a living.
I'm looking up to see what's on the Vistar plan. Vistar is 8 feet. We just don't know what it was approved at. But I got Lindsay here that knows how to read these things much quicker than I do. Glad I got both of you here tonight. Concrete, so it is shown as concrete. So Vistar's in right, it was supposed to be concrete. And then building 3 came in, and what is that plan? Okay, here's this one.
Just as reference, I just looked up the Vining Road sub-area overlay district zoning amendments, and all that is referenced is the width of the 2 facilities, one being that a sidewalk is a minimum of 5 foot, and the second being that a shared use path is a minimum of 8 foot wide. And both are to be constructed in accordance with ASHTO, but there is no discussion on materials. So I understand your concern, but at current time, there's no regulations, there's no notation within the ordinance that specifies one way or another.
Right. So he basically is legally doing
Concrete.
what's allowed.
So the other
Correct.
two
Within
is
the
8
legal
foot concrete.
right to do what they want to do. You know,
Make it right.
Yeah, yeah.
So basically, the only way that would be changed was if we went into the overlay district and made an amendment, correct?
So
Or an ordinance?
the
To the ordinance?
Vistar and Scanal, building number 3, were both approved along the Smith Road frontage with 8-foot concrete. So this one, and then it transitions to asphalt as you get to the interior of the site and
Right.
wrap around.
But right in front of the building, it's concrete?
Along Smith Road.
Yes, it is.
For both the other two. So the question is, what do you want to do with this one? That's asphalt. Do you want it consistent? Do you want it concrete all the way, or
You mean on the frontage?
on the frontage along Smith Road?
I'd like to see it that way.
yes, I
I'd like
prefer
to see it
that.
consistent all the way down there.
Across, along Smith,
Smith,
and then you could transition into the asphalt on the pathway, right? Vistar has transitioned into asphalt on the pathway, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Then what's up Vining up by Amazon? It's concrete, isn't it?
Yes.
I know you're going north. What's the Amazon?
Concrete.
frontage along? Vining. Is that concrete? Yep. So it's concrete up on
Well, just
up
a
at Amazon
comment,
too.
whatever we turn out to be, we'd like to try to be as consistent
Yes.
along the frontage as possible.
Yeah.
And so we don't have a hodgepodge of asphalt
Right.
and
So
cement.
it appears that concrete exists along Vining Road, Ecorse Road for Amazon, and Vistar, and it's approved for Scanal going east, and then This has got two frontages proposed as asphalt, which is different.
Again, if they're frontages, it seems to me we ought to
Should be
be
consistent.
remaining with concrete.
Consistent?
Yeah, right, consistent for all of the frontages,
Okay.
because they're next to each other.
I know there, on most walking paths and biking paths I see are asphalt,
Right,
but because it's on the road frontages, I'd rather,
yeah. This wouldn't necessarily be considered,
it's like a big
Pathway.
sidewalk.
it's a sidewalk, right?
That's a use it would be.
Reduce the width.
Yeah. That's true.
You could, through the chair, we could actually reduce the width from 8 foot down.
What is the width between, in front of Vista?
I think she mentioned 8 feet.
It's 8 feet.
It's 8 feet?
Because they were using it as a walking, biking path way. And that's what they're
We want a more
considering,
uniform
not a
looking.
standard sidewalk. Again, we're getting back to mismatches of size and
Right.
consistent.
I guess I should ask, what is your thought on it?
So, no, I think it's good points that are brought up. I think that look at the frontage, I understand the consistency that you're looking for. If you would like us to make Smith Road frontage concrete, we would do that. Are you also asking binding as well, or can that remain the transition into asphalt on binding? And
No, concrete all the way around it,
you want concrete all the way around?
to match our existing site. Amazon to the north.
Well, Amazon has concrete. all
Right,
the
I
way.
know, I just want to match it.
Yeah, we want to be consistent all the way through the project and whatever else.
It's a bit more expensive.
It's more expensive, of course, but we also do care about the look of the park.
Good.
So if that's going to be a requirement, then we will do so.
Right, right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So now, is the Amazon sidewalk that comes in, is that 8 feet or 5 feet wide? On Viney, do we know?
It's 5, I know it's concrete.
We could always have a field trip.
That's where we need a drone.
Yeah, drone. Pardon me?
Five.
It's 5 feet. Okay, so if he's 8 feet across the front, but then down Vining Road,
Go 5.
he's going to hook into, if he has 8 feet, he's going to hook into 5 feet. Is there some way that he could start out with 8 feet and gradually taper it down to 5? Or does that make sense?
That does occur in construction often, where we are making changes of, on the width of facilities.
Well, can we do it at a driveway point, at some point where we're 8 foot on one side entranceway or something?
On that north
believe
end.
Yeah,
they're
but he would just
connecting-
go 8 feet so far and then he'd be
Yeah,
5 feet
then
the
on
rest
the
of
other
the
side of the driveway, it'd be 5 foot.
5 feet, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Where is his driveway and
I know, this is,
is it quite a ways up?
Just north of,
This is the old plan though.
we have a driveway there, you could connect on the
Oh,
other
this is
side of
current.
that with 5 feet.
Stuff around the back.
Looks like right here.
So the Amazon facility, it ended halfway through the head wall of the culvert that carries Ecorse River underneath Vining.
Yeah.
And I would say that the 5 foot should be carried through to the end of that, that facility. And then probably to the northern drive approach of A and B. And then on the south side, it can flare out to the 8 foot.
Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
Yeah, there's no use going up 8 feet when there's 5 feet, so then you've got 3 feet hanging over the side. I'd be riding my bike on that 3 feet. And going to ditch.
We don't want that.
Okay, so basically what we're saying is 8 feet across the front of Smith,
That's fine.
but then as we go up Vining, we're saying 8 feet
up
to the first
approach.
driveway? Is that what we're saying?
So, So it looks like it's 5 feet just as it crosses, and then it widens out, but just to the north of the driveway.
If you prefer just 5 feet north of the approach.
Is it 5 feet through there, do you
No,
know?
it-
Maybe we
They-
make it 8 as long as we can, and then we take it down to meet the existing, we imagine we make it 5 north of the drive approach.
Yes. That'd be good. Sounds good.
Okay.
So you would be amenable to doing the 8 feet across the front and then doing whatever on the side to taper it, or whatever you need to do to go down to the 5 feet? Is that what I'm saying?
8 up to the south edge of the approach, and then 5 feet coming out the other side.
So we could say that basically we're looking at concrete, we're looking at an 8-foot with a transition that could be determined per the planning department working with the petitioner
I'm fine
Right.
with
to
that.
where it
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Right.
Okay.
That's agreeable?
Thank you.
Thank you.
That will look nicer having all cement across the front, because I'm sure your building is going to be beautiful.
Yes, and we'll want to create an eyesore that doesn't need to be.
Great.
Well, I know Vistar next door, they've got a nice building, so you're kind of like, any other questions or comments?
Yes, through the chair. Just a couple things here. On the PEA report, on page 2, under the sections that says, let's see here, it's revisions and clarifications, right there at the bottom of the page. Number 1, path has been changed to a gravel trail and not to be required to be accessible. Is, exactly where is that located we're talking about?
That's the trail along.
That's the walking path behind the drain.
Property. Request that we change it to be a gravel trail, which will be gravel itself. It's kind of
If I may, through the chair.
Sure, go ahead.
In regards to what was discussed when the conditional rezoning agreement comes through, it's kind of a matter of semantics. There are different requirements for trails in order to be ADA compliant versus pathways and shared use pathways. There was a lot of discussion when Vistar came in as to what was going to be required along the south side of Ecorse River. At that time, it was determined that that would be constructed to trail standards rather than a shared use path in order to blend in more with the nature in that area, to be less obtrusive in the area. So I believe, and I'm not sure which comment number were you referring to?
Number 1, path has been changed to a gravel trail and will not be required to be accessible. Accessible for ADA? Yeah.
Right at the bottom of the page where it's 1, 2, 3.
Is this the building department's comment? Yeah, building department had commented on it, and they did not, they saw your comment and they haven't commented back. They didn't have that comment. So I guess they're okay with it?
Again, it's not that it's not accessible, there are different we will still require them to construct to the accessible standards for a trail,
Okay,
which
I
is,
just- But we're talking ADA, not like,
correct, ADA compliance.
okay.
Yep. There's a different level of compliance when it is a paved shared use path versus a trail.
Okay.
And we are referring to this as a trail.
Trail.
And this will be, we will do an engineering review in regards to this as a trail rather than a shared use path.
I was just looking for clarification for that one
Sure.
comment there. All right, the next thing is, on the OHM report, page 3, it's, let's see here. Architecture. While the building facades do not fully comply with the Binding Road overlay perspective, its quantity and dimensional values for material changes, the shifts in building plane. I mean, we got a slight rendering of what the buildings will look like, but not like detailed. Everything was fine there?
What I saw, what did you get in your packet? Because what I have does not include any of the building renderings.
Just the words "do not fully comply" jump out at me.
And again, that's going back to the conditional rezoning agreement. There was that the intent was going to be that it would it would be significantly in line with the Vining Road overlay architectural standards. There are some portions of the building that are longer than what was prescribed in the Vining Road standards. I will go back to the fact that the Vining Road standards were meant to be for smaller buildings. So putting in multiple columns along a building just to break up an expanse also has its negatives, it has its pros and cons. So we feel that the corner articulation on both the north and south side, or the north and south corners of that building, and then the material changes are meeting the intent of the Vining Road overlay
Okay, yeah,
district.
but that was the gist of my question.
Yes.
Okey-doke. Let's see.
If I may say something, it's the same architect that was used at Vistar as well, so we do have architecture in-house, but we decided to keep it the same for kind of that purpose.
Yeah, I just wanted to enter it into the dialogue that did not fully comply text, it jumps off the page, but as long as we're satisfied. Let's see here. Oh, and the other thing is nothing to do with the applicant, but the Vistar wrong-way driver thing, what are we going to do about that?
We have had discussions, and there are additional signs that could be installed, and I do believe that there will be some discussion as to enforcement, because Vistar had stated that they didn't have any contract drivers, and this
I'm sure
most likely
it's-
is their employees.
I'm sure it's vehicles, not
Yeah,
trucks.
the truck should be using the easternmost, but yes, that it is a disturbing number of people using it the wrong way.
That's a big number, yes. And that's just the ones they caught.
Well, it was a full 13-hour count, so you're catching.
13 hours in a year is not a lot.
But it was all consecutive. It was in one day, that was all the employees that were using it. There was
'Cause it,
23.
That was a nice little inclusion in this report,
Yes.
to have that little, that little picture with the different color lines and the numbers associated. It was, I've never seen that one before. Okay, that's all I have at this time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, and you're going to have to go to the BZA to get a variance for your heights? Building heights, okay. Any other questions? Ms. Jemison?
Yeah, to follow up with Jerry's concern, my concern is also that traffic on Smith, but also on Vining. Still seems like signs it's a nice idea, but we need something more enforceable. If there's not a police officer that's camped there, can we do something with the curb cuts or something with the divider that will not allow trucks to misuse those spaces? So, I mean, I'm still not the happiest that we still have not come up with an idea for what to do with WIC to guarantee they will not be making a right turn on WIC when they see that 94 is backed up, because it's going to happen. Now we just add to the problem, so.
Is there a certain area of Vining that you're concerned with other than the other than the WIC and Vining intersection?
Well, when you mentioned about the cross-pathing from that area over there, I go up and down there from time to time because it's the shortcut sometimes when traffic is backed up. And I see a lot of interesting things over there, and it's because no one pays attention to signs, no one pays attention to red lights, no one pays attention to do not turn, do not enter. But if there's something there physically not allowing them to make those turns that they should not be making, I think we need to invest in that sooner than later, because now we have Amazon, which they've abused the mess out of it, and Vistar now, they're having fun with their employees. Then we got Northport that's going to come, and they did actually adhere to some of the things we were concerned with, but they still didn't come up with a solution for WIC. And now, no offense to you and whoever your tenants will be, that's just going to add to whatever mayhem is going to happen on Vining. So better safe than sorry if we put some restrictions that does not allow those trucks to do what we don't want them to do. Cameras are nice, but you get a power outage, then what are you going to do?
Solar.
You know, I'm sorry to admit this, but I'm a person that I speed a lot and I see a lot. And no, I do the Michigan Road stop, so I know what it looks like. Half my job is on the road, so I see this, and I know if you can get away with it, you're going to, unless it's going to be a deterrent that will cause damage to your vehicle. I don't know how else to put it, but North Point came up with a great idea with their turn thing that does not allow the trucks to turn. I don't see why we can't figure out how to do something like that. So that's my only concern, because it's going to happen, so.
So I guess, are you concerned with the traffic coming out of their driveway on Vining?
Yes.
There's a boulevard dividing directly across from our exit. No, we're not, there's no way we could
Yeah, there's the
do that unless we go the wrong way. Is that what you're concerned about?
Well, my concern is that we're adding traffic to problems that we already have, and we haven't really resolved the problems that we already have. And so I'm bringing it up so that we can get back to resolving the problems that we already have before we add more traffic onto that. And that's really my main concern, not necessarily saying that your people will come out of there and not turn appropriately, but we still do have a couple of existing problems that I really don't want to see us adding to, if that makes sense.
My problem just I was traveling down Wick last week, westbound. I got to Vining, and I wanted to go onto Vining. Well, they got the barricades there for roads closed, and then I was going to go around and make the turnaround. Well, they've got the barricades inside of that, so you can't do the turnaround. So I made a left turn on Vining. You had no choice.
Yeah, right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're backed up on those repairs on Wick Road, aren't they? Yes. I think there's a nasty,
I don't know that would necessarily
nasty delay.
affect their traffic right now, but
Not right now, but when they clear up that mess that's on Wick,
Yeah.
then it's going to be a field day.
well, as long as they've been working on Wick, that could be there for a couple more years.
Yeah, I'm sure we got another 5 years for Great Lakes Water to finish.
Yeah.
If not longer.
Anyhow, well, we're getting off
Right.
the subject of
Yeah.
whether or not we're going to approve his site plan. So I do appreciate, I know what you're saying, and it is frustrating.
Just want to make sure we keep those in mind, so as more
Yes.
companies come and they build, to understand what our concerns are. So I appreciate that, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? If we have no other questions or comments, a motion would be in order.
So one of the things I can point out to you is in the motion, or in the list of conditions, under the summary and recommendation in the MKSK report, note that the last comment, number 9, talks about all the other comments from departments and agencies, which would pick up the OHM comments.
Right.
And, from the other departments. So, certainly if you felt you wanted to pull them out and add them to this list, however, this whole thing's going together, and those comments that are there in those reports.
They would automatically be
They
included.
automatically
We don't have
become
to
a
read them
condition
all
of
out
approval,
individually.
right?
Like the walkway lighting and all the rest, that's going to be.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly,
Okay.
right.
Sure, and do we have to, do we say something in there about the build-out for dock doors?
There is, if you look at number,
But isn't that one of the outstanding items?
Number 4.
it is, it's number 4. No future dock doors are
Oh,
allowed
yeah.
without an amendment to the site
Right.
plan approved
I
by the
knew I saw
planning
it
commission
somewhere.
and the conditional
Yeah,
rezoning.
I didn't know if it was in.
Do we need to add anything for sidewalk? Need to put
The sidewalk thing is the one thing that I think we do need to add.
Okay.
Just because it's not addressed in any of the reports, and it's pretty simple, that you'd like to see the 8-foot walkway along Smith and Vining to be constructed of concrete. And then you can also mention you know, the width, the 5-foot width can taper down or widen out
Tapering down along Wick or
around Vining,
Down
well,
Smith.
actually, depending on which direction you're going to say it. My understanding is that consistent with the Amazon development, 5 feet until you got to that driveway, and then on the other side of the driveway, it widened out to 8 feet.
So to be tapered down at appropriate as planning
There you
seems
go.
fit.
Right.
That's good wording.
Taper down what?
Taper down as planning department seems that it recommends, per their recommendation.
Alrighty. So that's number 10.
Yeah, it'd be 10.
No other questions or comments? No comments from OHM
Is there any comments?
or you, or good to go?
Madam Chairman,
Mr. McAnally.
I'll make the recommendation to approve SPR 2022-005 Romulus Corporation Park Buildings A and B, subject to the 10 conditions listed in, 9 conditions listed in the report, in additional number 10, which is speaking to the 8-foot walkway along Smith Vining to be made of concrete, and then tapering down to 5 foot per planning recommendation at a later time.
Support.
Support? Support. All righty. I have a motion from Mr. McNally, supported by Mr. Long. To approve the site plan for SPR 2022-005, Romulus Corporate Park Building A and B, recommended approval by the Planning Commission, subject to the 9 items listed between page 11 and page 12 of the MKSK report, and also adding number 10, which has to do with the concrete sidewalk along Smith and Vining for 8 foot, and then tapering down on Vining as you go.
As determined at a later
Right,
date.
as determined, right.
Do we want to call it sidewalk or we want to call it walkway? Doesn't matter.
Sidewalk.
Any discussion? Mr. McAnally?
I guess.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Gladfelty?
Yes.
Mr. Bobuade?
Yes.
Ms. Jamison?
Yes?
Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Krova?
Yes.
Mr. Frederick?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, the site plan is approved. Good luck, gentlemen. Okay. Moving right along. Number 9, we have PC cases involving advice or input from the Planning Commission.
Not tonight.
Not tonight.
Nope.
That's probably good news. Reports on interest designation. Does anyone wish to report on their interest designation?
Madam Chair, I'll report the box is open. It's a sweet corn Saturday, it's delicious. Support the local business.
Yeah, they also added
You didn't bring us
tomatoes.
any.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, they have like 7 or 8 things they added today.
Yes. Glad they're open.
Yes.
I do, I have a couple things. One thing is Mayor McCrate has been hosting what he's calling One Romulus. It's like town hall meetings in different parts of the city. He's been using the schools. The next meeting is Wednesday, July 27th. That's going to be at Barth Elementary School. Starts at 6 o'clock. It gives the community and the residents a chance to voice their concerns, ask questions. It's kind of an open forum. And so and he's been, like I said, hosting them at the different elementaries, so in every quadrant of the city. So got 2 left, and like I said, one is July 27th, Barth Elementary School. You don't have to be in that area to attend. If you're on the other side of town or whatever, it's open to everyone. And then this last one is going to be August 17th, and that's going to be here at City Hall. So come out, and if you have more questions, you can call the mayor's office, 734-942-7571. And then Sound of Downtown's been going on. The next one is this Friday night, and they have Alexandria Transit. I think it is a rock band. So that starts at 7 to 9:30 uptown at the historical park, there where the train car is. So come on out and enjoy that music. I know the last couple, it's been kind of rainy, but people have still been out there. Actually, and just for your information, the last one where they did have the rain, I do believe they moved it underneath the big pavilion.
Yes, they did. I was
So
there.
there's avenues for the weather. So come on out and enjoy that. Flowers in the Mitten has been hosting every month the craft and vendor shows downtown area there right in Romulus. And the next one that is going on is August 13th, and that is from 11 to 4 p.m. on a Saturday. And I wasn't in town for the last one, but they say there was a lot of vendors up there. It was pretty hot, but they didn't do bad. So come on out and enjoy that. And the last thing I have is our Romulus Recreation Department does a lot of things with the youth during the summer. And right now they're taking applications for youth T-ball, which will start on July 25th and go through August 31st. It's not every night of the week, it's on Mondays and Wednesdays. So if you're interested in that, it's for boys and girls ages 4 to 6, and it's very inexpensive. It's $35 per child, $25 for your second child, and they hold that at Elmer Johnson's Park, right on Oscar Road. And you can call 734-955-4521 for any questions, or come up here to the Recreation Department at City Hall and get an application turned in. And other than that, I think that's it for me tonight.
Anybody else have any comments?
Thank you. I thought I was
Go ahead.
recreation,
Just
but
give us an
thank
upside.
you. But
That was
anyway,
good. Colleen was actually here earlier, sitting back here, so I'm sure
Yeah.
she's very grateful that you went over all the recreation stuff.
Ms. Jemison?
Trying.
Oh, both of you?
There's always
Yes,
things I miss.
you want to
Well,
go?
we'll let ladies go first.
Yeah.
No, I'll be longer. He can go.
Okay. All right, Mr. Long, you go first.
And I was just going to add to Celeste's recreation report, but we do have a new recreation director, Ms. Colleen Dumas, and we have, she sent out a survey in which I will be bringing those results for the community interest probably next month, if it's done, if the survey is complete by the end. And we have movies in the park for August 20th, and the theme is, or the movie will be Grease, from what I understand. And that's it. And they also are, she's trying to get an initiative to put security cameras around the parks too. So hopefully we can get some funding for that, because there's been a lot of vandalism going on at our parks. So trying to get some security cameras and try to get a handle on that, so we won't be buying
Right.
more equipment. I would rather
Right.
invest in the cameras than catch people and then study buying the equipment every time they tear something up, so. Other than that, that's it for my report.
Thank you. Ms. Jamison?
I'm going to share in both of those reports. So we've been having bike nights at the Artesian downtown Romulus on Fridays. I'm told it's pretty nice. I'm usually preoccupied on Friday nights, but for those who don't know, probably want to go by and check that out. Also, I believe they're doing called Rumble in Romulus. So that's coming up. Sorry, I don't remember the date, but it's on the Facebook page and also on the city website, I do believe. And I'm
This
a-
weekend.
Oh, this weekend, you're right. That's why it was on my mind. So it's this weekend. And I believe this at 2 days?
It's Friday and
Friday,
Saturday.
Saturday?
Yes.
Yep, so that should be good, actually. Plan to be there, and I am advertising ahead of time for our Pumpkin Festival, September 16th, 17th, 18th, 3 days. They're looking for volunteers. On Sunday, we still are planning for that to be a family-like environment day, so I want everybody to come out, bring their families, but we also need volunteers for that, people to come bring your neighbors, because we're looking for some team events. And also, we're looking for anybody in Romulus that has a skill, a talent, ability. They're doing a talent show. Colleen, actually the director of the RAC, is actually going to be running the talent show for us, and they're already starting, I believe, for auditions, or if they haven't started, they will be starting soon. I don't know what those dates are, but anybody that has a skill or talent and they want to display it. We're also looking for small businesses in Romulus, because we'd like to give the business to our Romulus residents versus everyone going to everyone else's city and spending their money. So any Romulus resident that's knitting or sewing or crafting or whatever it is, if you want to come out to be a vendor at the Romulus Pumpkin Festival, there's a spot on the city website to submit, because we are still looking for some. So there is some space on Sunday. I do believe Saturday is all filled, but there's space on Sunday, so they can check that out as well. Sorry, the two of you got involved in your things, but also this is a question to Carol. So, as far as my commission, I'm looking to see why is it that Romulus does not spend a little bit more time and effort looking for eco-friendly things for our city, like, you know, I know we do our recycle, but I was recently in San Francisco and shocked and amazed at how many eco-friendly systems they have in place. I mean, from getting rid of plastics to using renewable types of straws and containers. And actually, if you want to use plastic, they make you pay more, which I thought was interesting. But everywhere I went, I saw all these recycle bins at the parks, at the mall, grocery store, wherever. They had paper, plastic. I mean, they were all divided, didn't look out of order or anything. But I thought it was amazing, the entire dang on city, everywhere. And, I mean, the light switches even, motion sensor, they had the instant on hot tank, water tanks, so that you're not running the water for like 2 years just to get it to be hot. As soon as you turn that water on, it was hot. I was shocked. Even with the hotel I stayed in, you slide your key in the thing and your lights come on. When you take that key out, your lights go off, so this way there's no leaving your lights on. There were a lot of features that they had, the entire city. And I know that it had to be a city effort and not just individual companies and businesses. So if there's any way that we can start looking into some things, like when we have these companies that come to do some things that are more eco-friendly. I know I talked about LEED certification at some point. I know a lot of companies poo-poo that because it's expensive, and so now they're looking at other options for that. I went to the solar farm and the wind turbine farms last month, I think it was. We did a tour. Romulus is not a candidate for the wind turbine farms, but solar, possibly. It's questionable with the airport and the tilt of those panels and things like that, but I know they're coming up with some new glasses to put on there to cut down that glare. But just wondering if there's any way that our city can start moving in that direction, because it's coming, whether we like it or not. So I think if we're on the forefront, forethinking.
It's an excellent point. There are a lot of municipalities that are working on sustainable things to go in ordinances. I happen to work with a community right now that does have a sustainability committee that guides on development. They will be coming to us with ordinances, so I'm going to have some access. I'm guessing these two might be familiar with some of their communities that they work with, and that's a great thought. I have a meeting later this week with the administrative staff, combining economic development and public services, so I can talk at that point too and see what what maybe we can get started.
Yeah, I hear the governor's got some plans in place by year 2030 that she wants to see some changes in the state overall in all communities. And I did see that Wayne County was one of those communities that was listed on that list.
Yep. I'm guessing it's going to come up as part of this update of the vision plan.
Right.
That's, being done right now. And, as we know, oftentimes offshoots from plans like that are committees that form, to address these kind of things. So timing is good.
Well, we don't have anything in our ordinance currently regarding solar panels on roofs, do we?
We don't. The building department does process them. I mean, there's permits for them, and they use the building code standards. There's drafts of stuff. We looked at it one time. I think when we were doing the wind stuff, we do have that in the ordinance. But let me.
I wonder if there are any federal grants for environmental initiatives for communities.
I think there is.
Sure, yeah.
Do you guys
There
know?
is.
Yeah.
Could that be something that we talk to the mayor about at one of these one community meetings?
Maybe.
Sure.
Have
Bring
one
it up
tomorrow.
with him?
Our question is there any way that we can have a liaison that would work with some of the communities to talk to DTE? Because I've been told they're not friendly when communities want to go to solar panel and subsidize their energy and then sometimes sell it back to them. They're doing it in other communities. But I'm told in Wayne County that DTE is not playing well.
I got to make a little comment on that. Like Mr. Crowe, I work at Metro Airport. We had the solar lights over there at the cell phone lots. You may have seen them. And Kathy, I know you were on the board, and Dan probably was too. We traveled to Warren High School many years
Yes.
ago to see their windmill.
Yeah,
See the windmills.
And they constructed 5 of them at Metro Airport. They're all down. We don't have the proper wind in our area.
Right.
But the solar didn't work out either for us. If you traveled on Eureka Road, we had a sign lit up over there. It's gone. And we had it at our other south cell phone lot. They tell us we just don't get enough sun in this area. So they went back to the traditional 110. Because the airport's a 24/7 operation. And they spent quite a bit of money on that.
Yeah, I know, because there was a thing on Facebook about, they would install solar for you, free of charge, or very little, a payment in that. But I didn't see a lot of people taking advantage of it, and
And we had 5 windmills at the airport, and we had,
I remember those, yeah.
and we went to Warren High School to look at those many years
Right,
ago.
right.
And then we had at least 2 signs, I remember, the cell phone lots, but it wasn't working out because it's a 24/7 operation.
Part of the problem that they've discovered is that the turbines were about 462 feet. You don't get enough wind, so now they're moving it up to 600 feet. When you get up in there and we're near the airport, they flat out told me that, well, you might as well not even think about it around your city because of the airport, because 600 feet, you get the wind. But at the ones that were 450, 460, which is the standard ones right now, they even pushed them up to 5 and over 5 in some of the areas, and they're finding that wasn't sufficient. But when they got up to 600 feet, then that's what it made a difference. Now, the older solar panels, there was something with the glare on the glass. They've actually changed that now recently, and they're actually able to tilt according to the sun. I mean, we actually stood there and watched them as every so often. You hear them click on, and they tilt just ever so often, but they replaced the original glass that they were using to a different type of material now. So it's allowing it for better conductivity. The only issue is that where that power comes in, it makes a loud buzz, but most of those, you got to walk up on it before you actually hear it. It's pretty loud, but you have to be pretty close. So the original things that they've had for the turbines and for the panels, they're different now, and they're just as time. But they pretty much said that Romulus is not really a candidate for the wind turbines, but for solar, it's another difference. So I think it's something we should look into. And again, with the recyclable, the renewable energy products in the city becoming more conscious, since not all the cities around here actually do recycling, which is sad to see, but I think we can actually do a little bit better with that. After, like I said, what I saw in San Francisco just kind of blew my mind, is that it was everywhere, from the airport all the way in throughout the entire city. It was kind of amazing.
A little FYI background on the solar panel thing in the area. The Township of Van Buren, we'll call them the Planning Commission, they just recently approved 10-acre farm at Haggerty and Ware Road, I believe it is.
Okay.
But that's private. And there's discussion with DTE, that's their business. And then down in Augusta Township, the 1,000-acre farm's going in.
For solar?
Yeah. Probably that old golf course at 23 and Willis, if that'd be my guess.
Yeah, they're finding there's a lot of private people that are actually
But
doing the
there's-
solar farms.
Those two communities are, so there's an
We have the one at
opportunity.
Middle Belt, and
Right.
when that one, that timing, which was a few years ago, there were others, you know, they were looking at other sites, but I think it was land acquisition. It was getting the land to do it, and,
Right.
you know, so.
But- And I do know with the windmills, the ones at the airport aren't tall enough, I don't think.
They
Well,
were,
they couldn't be.
they were
They couldn't be
round, they
because of the
weren't.
airport, because whenever we go to Indiana, we pass a big windmill farm. I mean, there has to be hundreds up, just in a row, and they gotta be,
1,000 feet.
I mean,
You see them in Ohio too on 75.
oh, yes, yes.
Down by Lima.
And I mean, they are
Lima.
just, you know, and I think that's the problem, is I don't think at the airport they can put them up high enough to generate the wind they need.
Right.
But anyhow, well, okay.
Madam Chair, I do have one more thing. July 30th at Fernandez Park, the Recreation Department is sponsoring a bike ride, and I think it's from 2 o'clock. It starts at 2 o'clock, if I'm not mistaken. And that's Fernandez Park.
Yeah, I saw that on
July 30th.
Facebook.
Yes.
I think I heard that.
And you can register
Okay.
on Facebook.
I just want to
and do,
very quickly piggyback on what you talked about, Sounds of Downtown. I was at a graduation party Saturday, and there was a Romulus resident there. She had a whole group of people, we were all sitting around, and she just went on and raved about Sounds of Downtown. What fun it is, how good it is, and she has convinced all this group of people that they are all coming to the Sounds of Downtown for some good, free entertainment. So,
That's nice.
anyway, and,
You wasn't one of them that was ranting and raving about it?
pardon me?
Say that wasn't you ranting and raving about the sounds of downtown?
You weren't ranting and raving, somebody else was?
No, the other person started talking about it, and then I chimed in. But I hadn't had as much screaming as she had.
I'm just playing.
Right. Anyhow, okay, anybody else have any comments on their interest designations? No? Excuse me. Item 11 is communications, and we have our project status report. Anybody have any questions or comments on the
I have a
project
question
status
for Carol.
report?
I do, Madam Chair. What's going on at Goddard and Middle Belt? No development there at all? We going to court with that?
The gas station?
Yes.
It's a new owner, boy, shoot, it's a weird address. Is it eight?
You say
It's
God.
terrible looking. Goddard
Goes
and
up
Middle Belt.
to,
There's an old Clark station years
Yeah.
ago.
Is that the Clark Station?
Yeah, the old
Yeah.
Clark station.
yeah, let me follow up with the building
It looks worse
department
than ever.
tomorrow. Yeah, that's, we know that as Paradise, you know, Paradise Gas Station. And I don't think it's under there anymore,
And
but.
Carol, the other phone call I get is about that Sunoco sign at Wayne and Ecorse. I wish they'd take it down.
I've mentioned
The
it.
citizens call me and ask me about that. There's no gas station coming in there tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, it's actually in the hopper, they just haven't resubmitted yet, so, I will pass that on to ordinance as well. See where they're at with that.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman? Is there something going on with the grocery store downtown? Have you heard of anything? Mm-hmm. Is that going to be something under a reoccupancy, or?
It probably will, you know, unless it's some kind of use. From what we understand, you know, there's a church that's talking about going in there, so
It takes some money to put that into a municipal church.
I think the building department's working with them, and
Wow, yeah, that's,
we're continuing to work on the daycare in the Secretary of State building.
yeah.
That's in both departments, that's building and planning right now. So, some of the stuff starts like, you know, we'll start with building when they are assessing, you know, conditions of
Right.
things and doing their inspections, and then,
Right.
and then we get it. That's why you're not seeing everything on this list.
Yeah. And I noticed that GFL over on Smith Road, did they just walk away or something? Shut down?
Which one?
GFL, I think, the dump.
They did shut down.
And I mean, the
They
place
did.
was up.
It's a mess.
It was worse than it
Yes,
was before.
Yes, it,
I mean, they had, buildings are torn down and.
yep, they moved their operation, they're demoing over there, I think the property has been sold.
Because I know someone was talking about putting a hotel right next door.
There is, you approved one hotel, in that there's a complex of 4 or 5 hotels.
Right.
That Town Place Suites, that I think you've given it one extension. It
Was
a
that the
few
Avid
years ago.
Hotel, was it?
Say it again?
The Avid, AVID?
No, that one is actually down on Middle Belt, and they are getting ready to come in with engineering plans. I heard from them today.
Yeah, but I mean,
Let me see what's going on with
that
GFL.
place on,
Location for GFL.
where they left, I mean, it is just,
Is that by McDonald's?
it's on Smith.
They're right behind McDonald's. It
Okay.
Used to be, I think, Nelson's
Okay.
paper, was it Nelson's?
used to be Nelson, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I know.
bad. It's bad.
It's bad, they have rats all over in there.
Right,
It-
they got what?
rat.
Rats.
Yes, the GFL property has sold, and enforcement is on it. They've got it tagged as, vacant buildings, and they're working with them, so, yep, they've got another follow-up.
Hopefully,
I
maybe we
will-
have some recourse
I
to the
will
prior
mention it to
owners.
Mr. Waginka and see what the latest is. Yeah, good.
Anyhow, anybody else have any questions on anything on this list?
We aren't 100% sure yet about an August meeting. We thought Fairways would be ready, but they're still working on some stuff and not back yet. There's a few other things out there, and we just need to see when people finish their work up.
Haven't seen anything yet, huh?
Nope.
Well, if we finish the summer off with a month off, okay.
Figured you wouldn't complain.
Sure, yeah. You're talking about, over at the golf course.
Yes, yep.
Maybe I shouldn't say this, I watched the council meeting when those residents came and complained from 3 or 4 different subdivisions. And all the complaints were with Infinity. And it is horrible. And I don't know how he can come before us and ask us to approve him building more houses over there.
Well, right now, there's not anything in for review. It's in their court. They've got a lot to resubmit to us, and, even if we got it tomorrow, I'm not sure we'd get it all processed and ready for you by August.
Right.
Because it involves traffic, it involves the association agreements that the associations are working on, and the PDA agreement.
And he just wants to make even cheaper buildings. I mean, no basements. Some of the finishes on the outside of the building. So anyhow, I just, when I heard that at city council, I was just appalled. Anyhow, already. Well, on that happy note, the next item is adjournment.
So move.
Support.
Support.
Mr. Lang said it first.
Anybody?
A motion from Ms. Jamison, supported by Ms. Roscoe, to adjourn. Is there any discussion? Ms. Jamison?
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Excuse me. Mr. McAnally?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Gladfelty?
Yes.
Mr. Bobade?
Yes.
Mr. Frederick?
Yes.
Mr. Krova?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. This meeting stands adjourned.